Hi, hello, welcome to my channel. I'm Anne and today I am bringing you a Tackling My TBR Vets vlog. As we are all book lovers, I think we all know that we love collecting books and we also love reading books, and they are two different hobbies. Now, I have started to realize that recently I have a lot of books. I have started inputting everything into my Notion, and it's turning out and telling me that I have over 500 books and I've only read about 100 and something of them, which is not good. So I have been collecting a lot of books over the past few years, and a lot of them have been sitting on my shelves not being read. So what I've done is I have written a list of all the books that have been on my shelves for a long time, and as you can see, this is very full, and I'm going to be picking a couple of books out of here and I'm going to be trying to tackle them in this vlog, whether I read them, DNF them, or whatever the case may be. So I do have one book already that I've already started. This is All That We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is a historical fiction about a young girl in France who is blind and she is figuring out how to survive with World War II going on. And we also have Werner, who is a young German boy who gets enroped? No. He gets brought into the Nazi youth, the Hitler youth, and his kind of figuring out all of that and being part of the Hitler Youth, and their story starts to collide. Now, this is a book that I've had on my shelf. I bought it secondhand from the charity shop many years ago. I think about 4 years ago. And the thing is, I've been avoiding historical fiction. I know I've heard many great things about this story, but I've been avoiding historical fiction. The last historical fiction I read was, I think, this Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but again, that's more modern because it has that more modern timeline. But with this one, it's completely back in 1940s. So yeah, the last sort of historical fiction that I read about World War II and was based in this time era was In the Warsaw Ghetto. I'll pop a picture up. That left me quite traumatized. It was quite rough to read, and I just haven't been able to pick anything up since within this time period. So I'm going to be reading this one. I am currently 117 pages in. I am tabbing it up. I've got some different tabs for different things like the, where are my tabs? I've got my different tabs, and as I go through I'm adding more depending on how I feel. So I've got some German propaganda, questions I have, things that are important, things that I think are foreshadowing, violence, German control, and scenes that are sad. So I'm not too far in. I have found that it is quite slow going, but again, that's generally with historical fiction. It can be quite slow going, but I will be reading this and updating you guys with this as I go through. So now we are going to pick out, I think, 2 more books out of this jar and see what books they are and what I'll be reading for the rest of this vlog. Okay, there's a lot in here, so I'll dig. I will go with this one. I'll put that to the side. I'll pick out my second one. This one. Okay, so these are the 2 that I've picked. Oh. The first one, The 10,000 Doors of January. I've owned this for a long time. It's by Alex E. Harrow, I'm pretty sure. And then we have, oh no, Jonathan Strange. Oh no. Okay, I will grab those books. Alright, I have retrieved the books. That took me way longer than I thought it was going to be because I recently rearranged my shelves and I couldn't find anything. And because I've got so many books and I've only got 3 bookshelves, I have to double stack all of them, so I don't know where half my things are. So the two books that I chose were The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. This is pretty sure all of these are pretty historical, which is quite funny. So The 10,000 Doors of January is by Alex E. Harrow. This was her debut novel. I've heard many amazing things about this story. I have owned it for a long time, so I'm glad to be getting to it. So this is about a young girl named January who is a ward of the wealthy Mr. Locke. She feels a little different from the artifacts that decorate the halls. So she believes that she's just kind of there as a artifact. She stumbles across a strange book, a book that carries the sense of other worlds and tells a tale of secret doors, of love, adventure and danger. So this is more of a portal fantasy. I do think it has more of a historical element to it, which is quite interesting, seeing as I'm reading All the Light We Cannot See. Then the second book that I chose was Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell by Susanna Clarke. This is a magical story. Another historical sort of story, which I find quite funny. I've heard some good things about this. I know that it kind of drags. It is about two magicians, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and one of them is an apprentice, the other one is teaching him. One's very broody and grumpy. But the synopsis says, centuries have passed since practical magicians faded into England's past. Only one remains, the reclusive Mr. Norrell, whose magical powers of conjuring, misdirection and resurrection send a thrill through the country. But cautious, fussy Norrell is challenged by the emergence of the brilliant Jonathan Strange. Young, handsome and daring, Strange is the antithesis of Norrell, and so begins a dangerous battle between two great men whose obsessions and dabblings with the dark arts will cause more trouble than they can possibly imagine. I'm pretty sure the French Revolution is involved in this too. Ooh, did I see a picture there? Maybe I didn't. Oh, there is pictures in here. That's interesting. There's some illustrations in here. This is a really beautiful cover. I did have an old cover of this and I found this, so I bought this instead and then just donated the other one. But it has, yeah, so this is really pretty. Funnily enough, I've now picked 3 historical fiction books out of my jar. And I haven't read a historical fiction book in a long time. So wish me luck. Hello, good evening. I thought I would give you a quick update right before I go to bed on my reading of All the Light We Cannot See. As I've said before, don't love it and I don't hate it. I'm quite ambivalent towards it. It is very okay. There's a lot of elements that I just feel like I don't have any connection to the characters. I don't really feel like there's anything keeping me reading. Like, I feel like I could put the book down and not go near it for a week and be fine and not think about it. But it is what it is. I am reading it. I am currently on page 178 and there is some points that I am quite enjoying. I am enjoying the German propaganda, the German control, all that kind of thing. And that's mainly because I am a big history buff. So obviously I'm going to enjoy seeing that. So we have two sides of this. Obviously we have Marie, who is in France, and she is dealing with now the occupation of Germany, Germany occupying France, and learning about all of the things there and not really understanding why she can't go home to Paris, because her and her father did evacuate from Paris and have gone to stay with her great uncle. And we are also following Werner, who has now attended the Nazi school for boys, the Nazi youth, and the Hitler youth. I keep saying the Nazi youth, the Hitler youth, and he is learning mechanics, engineering, and kind of showing off his prowess there. He is very, very smart, and I'm interested and I'm really enjoying seeing Werner's kind of mindset of this being in the Hitler Youth is kind of his escape from the mines. He's been told for as long as he can remember that as soon as he turns 15, he's going into the mines and he is working in the mines, and that's his job, and that's his kind of thing to help towards the machine of Germany. And he does not want to do that because his father has actually passed away in the mines and him and his sister have been left orphans. So you can see that kind of contrast where he's kind of part of the Hitler Youth just to get out of the situation, and I'm enjoying that part, but I will carry on reading and I will update you with more thoughts. It has been a little while since I last updated this vlog, but I have made some decent progress, which I'm really happy about. So I finished All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr, and I think I'm going to be giving this 3.5 stars to 4 stars. I haven't put it through Call yet, but I definitely think it is on the higher scale, although I did find that this story was quite slow as we hit the midpoint. As the war started going on, I did find that things started to move a little bit quicker, and yeah, so as the story went on, there was a lot more violence, a lot more things that, you know, happen in war, and I found that that was quite intriguing. I did find that seeing the two sides of the war, one side from Marie and one side from Werner, very interesting, and seeing how the war is affecting them as two individual young people within this story. They were both 15, 16 at this time. And then as we get towards the end, it does get quite harrowing, quite sad, and really poignant as we go through. We see how the war has affected people, we see how what happens to the people within this story, and actually we see how the people who weren't necessarily in the war or like actually in the war like Werner, how it affected them and sort of things like that. So I did find it quite interesting. I did enjoy the ending quite a bit, but it has left me quite sad, and I think that is with a lot of World War II historical fiction, it does leave you quite sad, you know, because there is deaths, there is war, there is people hurt, there is people who are going to be affected for this for years to come, and that is the truth of war and what happened within World War II. You know, there's still these people out in our world that are really affected by this, whether they were in the war or they were just bystanders in the war and kind of were living in those countries that it happened to, or they had family members within this war. So I do think that this is a really interesting story, and if you do like historical fiction and those sad sort of stories, then this one is definitely for you. So once I finished that, I kind of gave myself a little bit of a breather, and then I started to pick up Jonathan Strange and Mr. Gnarled Night by Susanna Clarke. This is my second pick. I was going to pick up the 10,000 Doors of January, but then I thought that I would get a little bit into this one because it's a chunky boy. It's about 1,006 pages. I'm currently on page 80, and I've kind of flown through this, which I find really surprising compared to my 500 page All the Light We Cannot. Compared to this one, it took me like over a week to read, and it's tiny, whereas I'm already on page 80 from last night, and I am actually really enjoying it. I have started tabbing it, but I haven't started annotating in it yet because I'm not sure if I'm actually going to enjoy the whole story. As of right now, I am enjoying it. We have been introduced to Mr. Gnarl. He is quite curmudgeon-y, he is quite grumpy, he doesn't want anyone to be around him, he just wants to study his magic and do whatever, but then he decides to make this sort of deal with these people who don't believe that he actually is magic and he can actually perform magic, because in the story a lot of people call themselves magicians even though they don't actually perform magic, they just study magic. So I thought that was quite interesting. So he does a deal with these guys and he's like, okay, if I can prove to you that I do magic, you can never call yourself a magician again and you can't study magic. And they're like, okay, let's do it. So that sort of happens, and Mr. Norrell decides to move to London to teach Britain that magic is still real, magic still exists, and kind of bring magic back to the UK. And we are learning a lot about Mr. Norrell and what he's actually been doing and why there actually isn't that many magicians left. And I'm finding it really interesting. I have found that I have laughed quite a bit throughout this. I haven't read a classic so far this year, and I think this is an interesting one to get into. It's more of a modern classic. So it was written in 2004, so it's almost 20 years old, but it is quite old-fashioned. It's historical. There's a little bit of magic thrown in there, which I find really interesting. So as I continue reading, I will update you guys. Hi. It's been a few days. I am still reading Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I'm actually still really enjoying it. It has been a bit slow going since I've gotten back to work this week, but that is completely fine. But I have some bookish mail that I thought I would show you, and I've been really excited about. So the first one is the full box set of the Harry Potter series by She Who Must Not Be Named. I did not buy these from the bookshop. I actually bought them secondhand from a person, so all the money that I paid goes to the person who owned them beforehand. So I haven't really put money into J.K. Rowling's pocket, which is good because I am an LGBTQIA+ ally and I don't want to be supporting an author who doesn't agree with those. And then the second thing that was part of this package was the Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone illustrated edition by Jim Kay, and this is stunning. Like, I've been eyeing these up for so long, but I haven't wanted to buy them because I didn't want to be giving her money. I'm so excited for this series again, and I really want to reread it and tab up a new box set. And over here you can see that big pile of books. They are all the books that I hold over the last week and a bit. So I will link my actual November book haul up on the cards. I don't know which side it is, but up on the cards, and you can go watch that and see all the books I got. But I've got some really exciting books and I'm so excited. I have got my reading mojo back, I've got my content creation mojo back, and I'm so excited to be here. So I will update you with some more reading updates very soon. I have sadly decided that I am DNFing Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell at 410 pages. Honestly, I just don't want to read this book. I have been reading this for 10 days already, and I just have
normally I would be finished a 500, 600 page book in those 10 days. And I'm just not enjoying it. It is quite slow moving. It is not interesting. I mean, the characters are quite interesting, but nothing is actually happening in this plot. And I decided that last night I was reading it and I got like 3 pages in and I just said to my partner, I was like, I don't want to read this. I think I'm going to DNF. And he said, just put it down for now and have a think about it. And I've been thinking about it all day today, and I've actually decided I'm just gonna DNF it. I looked on some of the negative reviews, or not the negative reviews, but like the 2-star reviews of this book, and it says that it is slow, it is boring, and there's nothing that happens, and the ending isn't even satisfying. So why am I sitting here struggling through this book when the whole point is to get books off my TBR? If I'm not enjoying this, why can't I just put it away? Why can't I DNF it and just start a new book? So unfortunately, I'm going to have to pull all the tabs out of here, but I am really happy that I decided not to annotate it, because I had a feeling I was going to get to about page 500 and actually not enjoy this book. So I am going to put this one down, and I am actually going to start. So I'm going to pick up 10,000 Doors of January tonight, and this is, as I mentioned in the intro, this is about a young girl named January. She stumbles across a strange book, a book that carries the scent of other worlds and tells a tale of secret doors of love, adventure and danger. This sounds much more up my alley. This cover is absolutely stunning and I'm excited to get through this. I've got all weekend to read it, and yeah, I'm excited. So I've read All the Light We Cannot See. I have DNF'd Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I'm about to start 10,000 Doors of January, and I did want to read 3 books in this vlog. So that means it is time for my little pumpkin jar. I really like this jar. I found it in my mother-in-law's garage, and it was just something that she got from an auction, and she's never used it, so I decided that I wanted it. So I hope this is good to me. The last book that I pulled out was not great. Okay. This one. Alright. Oh my god, please be a good one. Please be a good one. This says Abarat. Okay. Let me try and go find this. I know that this is one that I, just like the pumpkin teapot, I actually got from my mother-in-law's garage. They were going to be getting rid of a bunch of books, and this book actually sounded really interesting to me, so I wanted to pick it up. And now I've got to go find it on my shelves. I will be right back. Okay, so I did find out that took me way longer than it was supposed to, but my shelves are double stacked, so it does take me quite a bit longer to actually find my books, because I have to pull all the ones out front out of the way. So this is Abarat by Clive Barker. I don't really know what this is about. I know that the synopsis intrigued me when I picked it up from the garage. So as you can see, it's old, it's yellow, and it is a well-loved book, but it did sound interesting. So let's have a look. Candy lives in Chicken Town, USA, the most boring place in the world, her heart bursting from some clue as to what her future may hold. She is soon to find out, swept out of our world by a giant wave. She finds herself in another place entirely. The Abarat, a vast archipelago where every island is a different hour of the day, from the sunlit wonders of 3 in the afternoon where dragons roam to the dark terrors of the Island of Midnight, ruled by Christopher Carrion. Candy has a place in this extraordinary world. She has been brought here to help save the Abarat from the dark forces that are stirring at its heart, forces older than time itself and more evil than anything Candy has ever encountered. So that sounds interesting, and I will update you guys when I have a reading update. Okay, so I'm on page 4 of 10,000 Doors of January, and I'm really enjoying it so far. We are opened up with the narrator actually talking to the reader and almost telling their story from the future. So I think they're sitting down and it almost feels like it's a journal entry, or like they're sitting down to tell you a story. And I'm really liking it so far. Page 4, which means we are looking good so far. I thought I have already highlighted a really cute, a really good quote that I think really shows the love of storytelling and books and reading within this story that I think this theme is going to explore throughout the whole thing, where we're jumping into stories and showing the importance of stories and how it can transport someone into a different world. So the quote says, "If we address stories as archaeological sites and dust through their layers with meticulous care, we find at some level there is always a doorway, a dividing point between here and there, us and them, mundane and magical. It is at the moments when the doors open, when things flow between the worlds, that stories happen." And that is so beautiful. So I'm going to carry on reading because I am enjoying it so far, and I'll update you a little bit later. Alrighty, so I am on page 177 of this book, and I'm about halfway through. And let me tell you, I am loving this book. At the start I was feeling a bit slumpy after Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and I was worried that I actually wasn't going to enjoy this book. But if you can see the tabs, I'm loving this book. So this book is about January. She is feeling lost and alone, and she doesn't know where she belongs, and she comes across this book where it's telling her all about this magical story of doors. And as we're going through, we're exploring things like racism and being unwanted and being lonely and not feeling worthy enough, and kind of following the standards that someone else sets upon you and kind of exploring that. And it's absolutely beautiful. Like, the writing in here is stunning, and I've just got to a point in the book that actually kind of is making me really giddy to continue reading. And I think this is going to be a 5-star, and I'm kind of kicking myself for not picking this up when I first got it, but it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's lyrical, the writing is stunning. I'm really absorbed in this story, and I'm really loving January as a main character. She is quite funny, she is sassy, she is stubborn, but she's also feeling alone, and she's feeling tired and lonely, and she just wants to explore, and she's not being able to do that. So this story is just exploring. And yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. It is beautiful. Things are starting to come together. There's a story within a story. So we're learning about this other girl who went through these doors and this boy that she falls in love with. And it is just stunning. And I absolutely love this book. And I'm going to finish it today. Like, it's going to happen because I need to know what happens within the story. But this is so much better than Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. So I'm really happy I actually picked this out of the jar. And I'll update you guys with when I finish, or if I have something else to scream about this book. Alright. Alrighty, so it is later on in the evening, and I have finally finished the 10,000 Doors of January by Alexi Harrow, and this is an absolutely beautiful, stunning story. I think I'm giving it 5 stars, and I'm really happy that I picked this one out of the jar and actually got to read it, because this is stunning and beautiful and lyrically written. It's just, I find it hard to describe how this story is. It's just absolutely stunning. It's a big adventure story where we're following this young girl who's just looking for a home and family, and it touches on themes of racism and loneliness and being on your own and finding your own place in the world. And it is stunning. And you know, when there's a book where it's so beautifully written that just any sentence just makes you want to cry, that's what it felt like reading this story. So it's honestly so beautiful, and it's one of my favorite books of the year, and I'm gutted that this has been sitting on my bookshelf since 2019, so like 4 years on my shelf, but it is what it is, and I have now finally read it, and it is one of my favorite books of the year, 100%. This is definitely going to be in my top books of 2023, and if you haven't read this book yet, I definitely suggest that you do. It is absolutely mesmerizing, beautiful, lyrical, and just makes you want to cry. So yeah, I'm going to pick up Abarat now and give that a try and see how it goes, and I will update you with a reading update very, very soon. Okay, so it has been a little while since I last updated you guys, but I have started the Abarat by Clive Barker, and I'm actually really enjoying it. I am on page 195, and this is actually quite interesting. So we open up with these three ladies on a boat, and they are trying to take care of this dead body and kind of give her the respect that they need. And we are kind of learning a little bit about the world and about Abarat and how they shouldn't be doing what they're doing, but they are praying to the moon goddess to help them on their journey and get her justice, I'm guessing. And then we move into the actual story. So we come across Candy Quackenbush, and she is a young girl in Chickentown, USA, and she is hating life. She doesn't want to be there. She hates chickens. She doesn't want to be around chickens anymore, and she is in an abusive household. Her father is abusive, and she is just not wanting to be there. So she comes across something kind of strange, kind of funny, and she decides that she is going to jump right in. So right now we are actually with Candy while she is in the Abarat. She is on one of the islands, and she is just figuring things out. She's trying to learn what's going on, how she's here, and how she may be going to go home if she ever wants to go home. And it's quite interesting, it's quite funny, it's quite amusing, humorous. It's quite funny, and it's actually really easy to read. I thought because this was such an older novel that I would struggle to get into it. Let's see when it was published. It was published in 2002. So this is quite interesting because I thought it would be a little bit different. I thought it would be, I don't know, hard to get into, but I'm actually really enjoying it and glad I did pick it up, and I'm flying through this. So I will give you guys an update when I either finish or if I have anything else to say as I continue reading this one. Alrighty, it is time to finally wrap up this vlog. It has been quite a while since I last updated this vlog, and I honestly completely forgot that I hadn't outroed this vlog. So here I am doing it now. So I did finish Abarat by Clive Barker, and I have given this 2 stars. So we are going through this story, and like I mentioned, I was really loving it. I was about halfway through and I was really enjoying it. And then we're just following Candy as she's running around the islands, getting herself into trouble and then escaping from that trouble. And that was all fun and good. And I thought there was going to be sort of a conclusion to the story, and there wasn't. Like, I had about this much to go, and I was reading it and I was like, yeah, this is good. We should be coming to like a conclusion, meeting the big bad, going into a big battle, that sort of thing. And then it just ended. And it goes into, so ends the first book of Abarat, and we had like this many pages to go, and I was like, what the actual hell? And it's actually the next chapter of the second book. So we're just like, there was no reason for this story. This is just a story of all set up, all figuring out the world and getting thrown into this world so you can learn about it for the next book, and I was not impressed with that. So I've given this 2 stars, and I'm very salty about it, as you can still tell. So that is my 2-star read of this vlog. And then we will go back to the 10,000 Doors of January. This was my 3rd read for this vlog, and I absolutely loved it. This is a 5-star read, and it's definitely going to be in my best books of 2023, so keep an eye out for that video, which will be coming very soon. But I absolutely adore this story. I have said everything that I can about it. It was beautiful. It made every sentence made me want to cry. It was written so beautifully. We follow January as she's trying to learn and find who she belongs to, where she belongs in the world, and it's just absolutely stunning. Then I tried to read, and unfortunately DNF'd Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. I got about 400 and 10 pages in and I couldn't do it anymore. There was no plot, nothing was happening, and I just was not having a good time. I didn't want to pick it up, so I decided to DNF it. And then I first read All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. This is a 3-star read for me. I had a good time with it, but it was quite slow going, and it took me about 10 days to actually read it, which isn't great for a 500 page book. Is it 500 pages? Yeah, 520 pages, and it's not my a cup of tea, but I did want to get it off my shelves, and there is a TV series that has just come out, which I may watch at some point. But it was a 3-star read. I did enjoy it. It's definitely a story that people will enjoy, just not for me because it was quite slow going, and I'm more of a fantasy reader than I am a historical fiction reader. So that is what I read in this vlog. I hope you enjoyed. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like, comment down below any of the TBR vets that you still need to read that are on your shelf, and if you've read any of these books and have the same opinions as me or different, let me know in the comments below, and make sure to subscribe so you can see more videos from me. Bye!